Okay, we are recording, but I don't think anyone is online. So it's great to have we can wave so that they can wave to some. Sure. Yeah, oh, there you are. Okay, see, it's full library at Ohev Center. Okay, and we are continuing in our syllabus. We are now based on universal consensus on Roman numeral four, letter F, which I think we did briefly talk about last time. We'll talk about it quickly. Notain tam leaf gam. Okay, so we talked about the fact that the rabbinic kashrut is concerned not just about the thing itself, but also about the taste of that thing that gets absorbed into pots, pans, silverware, and then gets expunged into the next thing that's cooked in that item. And that's like, which is why we cook it only in kosher utensils and uh but only cooking is right. Cold things doesn't really matter because taste is only transferred through heat, right? So if you're having cold cereal, it doesn't matter where you're having it. You're staying at a motel and they give you like a little breakfast and maybe you get bumped up to the United Lounge or something. You get to have for like $75, you get all the Cheerios you can eat. Okay, so you don't need a kosher bowl because you're having cold cereal. Doesn't right? There's no transfer of taste. Okay, you have your dairy and your meat. I mean people don't do this, but you could serve cereal and milk in your fleische, your meat bowls because it's cold. When you feel right.
That feels illegal.
Okay, it's not okay, so because it's cold. But so the that's all. Okay, I think we did talk about absorbed that taste called tam, and it's how it gets nitinat tam, the granting of taste, the imparting of taste, um, and then there is notin tam nifgam. If it's a rancid taste that's imparted, then it doesn't impact the kashrut. Now, the original implication of this was that if the taste of was contextual to the thing itself and what it was, like if um, you have like you make a vanilla custard in your um, clam chowder bowl, a tureen, okay? And so your vanilla custard has a little bit of that taste of the clam chowder. Yuck, right? So that is kosher because the taste that has been imparted is a taste that makes the thing taste worse. Okay, even though clam chowder on its own is delicious, and custard is, I know that's the point. Okay, it's delicious, and so that's why it's not kosher, right? That's why the taste is not kosher. If it tasted right, right? If you're eating the actual clam chowder, it doesn't matter if it's good or not. Okay, as long as it's food, it's forbidden to eat. If we're only talking about the taste that was absorbed into a pot and then given over into the next thing cooked in that pot, if it's a good taste, so if you make potatoes in your clam, if you make a pot of pasta, you make a pot of pasta in your clam chowder pot, clam flavored pasta is delicious. Okay, so that's forbidden to eat. But if you make vanilla custard in your clam chowder pot, that is gross and therefore it's permissible. Okay, it's okay.
But it's still kosher.
Yes, absolutely. Because there's no actual mamash, there's no actual clams in your custard. It's just the taste of the clams. It was absorbed into the pot and then imparted in your custard. That is permissible.
Question.
Like even pork chops. Like
Pork chops in what? Pork chops in
like in a skillet, and then you put like.
and then you wash it, but
Yeah.
it still kind of has that
that taste. Yeah. So what are you cooking next? If the next thing you're
like,
cooking is I think you're making a creme brulee and it sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
That's permissible. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay, so the burning part, that's also the same in relation to like chametz and like that stuff, right? Though too, like if it's burnt or like the taste. Oh no, I was reading it and it made sense when I was reading it. No,
Okay. Okay.
but like to the point at which it is undistinguishable and like disgusting to taste that you wouldn't even like So this is
Yeah,
different
okay.
from
We're talking about cleaning for
okay.
climate. Yeah, if it's not food anymore, like if you have like a black stain on your oven, like that's like some carbon deposit, that was like
Mhm.
maybe like it's a piece of grease that like fell in
Okay.
your stove, 6 months ago, and now it's just a black smudge in your stove. That's not food. That's not a
Okay.
concern on Pesach. Okay, that's a different category. That's a
This is
different
different.
related. Yeah, here we're talking about you cook the food, the taste. We're talking about
Like
Tom. The
yeah.
taste is absorbed into the walls, and now you're cooking something else. The taste is being imparted, which is generally the kosher problem. It's not a problem if the taste is rancid. Um, what's another example of something that tastes really rancid that we have in our kitchens all the time? I hope
Wow.
not. I hope not. I hope not. No, a lot of things, anything goes bad eventually, but something that tastes really bad that is in your kitchen, and you might even come in contact with your dishes all the time.
Like soap.
Yeah, soap. Soap tastes really bad. Okay. So if soap is mixed in with this system, okay, so pork chops mixed with soap taste really bad. So if you're washing, if you accidentally, if you're
Like if you're washing something and then like there's still a little bit of soap and like say you crack eggs into it and like you start making like scrambled eggs and it tastes like soap. I'm not
right.
saying that.
That is, yeah, yeah.
But that would be kosher regardless, but it'll be different.
If you yeah,
Yes.
so let's say you're, non-Jewish housekeeper or, your whatever, brother-in-law or something, whatever, it comes over and, you know, they have their little soup in a, like clam chowder in a thermos that they bring with them, and then they finish it and they wash it out in your sink, all with all of your dishes. So oh no, there's like clam chowder has been mixed in with but it wasn't clam chowder, it was clam chowder mixed with soap, which is a rancid taste. So the taste that may have been absorbed touching your own dishes is a rancid, disgusting taste, has no kosher problems whatsoever. Okay, let's say you open your dishwasher, like, oh my gosh, I accidentally have a dairy spoon in with my, okay, presuming you washed with soap, it's all fine. Run your dishwasher with soap. Okay. And then these accidents are not going to be a problem. Um, let's say you don't use soap, but you wash by hand. That's also going to be okay. Why? If you wash by hand, even without soap, why is a kashrut accident never going to be a problem if you wash by hand?
Without soap.
Even without soap, if you wash by hand wash your dishes, no soap, never going to be a kashrut problem if you make a mistake. If you wash by hand,
Because of like dirt or something.
nope, nope.
Being human.
Yes, but you're getting there. What did we say was necessary for taste to transfer? It had to be
Food.
not warm. It had to be
Hot.
hot. How hot does it have to be for taste to
To the
transfer?
point you recoil your hair.
So if you're washing by hand, it's by definition not hot enough for taste to transfer. If you can stick your hand in that thing, okay. Now, if you're wearing gloves, then maybe it's a problem. Or if it's like you're like holding the plate by the side as you're like putting it under the faucet, that could be a problem. But if your hands are in there, and that's just a general rule, like train yourself, always when you hand wash dishes, make sure like never use gloves or whatever, you can use gloves if you want. But, like make sure it's never so hot that your hand can't be there, because then you'll never have to worry about a kashrut accident. And always put soap in your dishwasher. Okay, you got things soaking. Put some soap in there, because it just means if accidentally the wrong fork gets there, it's never going to be a problem, because the soap turns the whole thing into a rancid taste, and rancid tastes that are absorbed are not a kosher problem. And what else is a taste that's rancid? You mentioned old milk. Old everything is rancid if it's been absorbed inside a pot for 24 hours. So any taste that's been absorbed in the walls of a pot for 24 hours or longer turns rancid, and then therefore it cannot create a kashrut problem, anything cooked subsequently. So, Great Aunt Sophie cooks clam chowder. The pot absorbs the taste of the clams.
Mhm.
24 hours elapse. You come and you make pasta in that. So the clam chowder taste that goes into the pasta is a rancid clam chowder taste. It causes no kashrut problems, though the pasta is permissible.
What if you're putting stuff that's cold and it does retain taste? And I don't know what makes it rancid, but like I'm thinking like salad dressings or sauces or something. Let's say you're using non-kosher salad dressings or sauces in a pot for some reason. Um, it's not a dairy issue, but maybe they're not kosher. They don't have a
Yeah,
set.
yeah.
So and they, by definition, they transfer taste because that's what they're designed
If
to
there's
do.
actual food in the mixture, that's a kashrut problem. If there's an actual food, I mean, if you put anything, any ingredient that's not kosher will render a mixture non-kosher as long as you can perceive it's perceptible. So generally, we assume if it's less than 1/60th, it's not perceptible. A drop of milk in your chicken soup, less than 1/60th, you can't taste that milk. It's fine. A little piece of pork falls in your chili. Okay, less than 1/60th, you can't taste it. It's not a problem. It gets a little bit interesting. What if it's less than a 60th, but it's something very, very spicy? And to that, if you can taste it, that would be a problem. So that's a good question. That can be there's not many, but certain substances. Or what if it's food coloring, where you can't taste it, but you can see it, even less than 60. So there's certain things which are perceptible, or you put a little bit of an enzyme that causes something to curdle or to rise or to right. So there's certain things which cause a change in the mixture even in less than 60 times their volume, and those can cause more kosher problems even in lower. But generally, any ingredient goes. But I'm talking about tam. So there's no ingredient at all. It's just you're using a clean pot that had been used for something non-kosher prior. And if it's more than 24 hours have elapsed, that pot is not going to, if the pot's clean, it's not going to cause a problem. Now, you're not allowed to use non-kosher utensils because that's a rabbinic decree, lest you come to, even after 24 hours, lest you come to use them within 24 hours. But if it's already been cooked, if your great Aunt Sophie boils you an egg, that egg is kosher because the pot wasn't used within 24 hours. And we assume that the pot, you don't even have to ask. The assumption is in a private home, things have not been used for 24 hours. So your Aunt Sophie makes you an egg in whatever pot is in her kitchen. We assume that it wasn't used in 24 hours. That egg is kosher. If she tells you, oh, I just made, then it's not. But if she does, you don't have to ask. This is not true in a restaurant. So you can't eat a hard-boiled egg from a restaurant because they use their things constantly. If you go to the restaurant, though, if the restaurant is closed on Sunday and you go on Monday and the restaurant's open, then you could have an egg. Yeah, hard-boiled egg.
Okay.
Yeah, for $25, they'll give you a hard-boiled egg. And okay, yes.
So, say for instance, Aunt Susie, whatever, you're going to her house, she's making you like an egg and toast on a skillet, right? Do you have to be the first person, like, say she's making multiple of them? Like, so she made one like 5 minutes ago and then made me one.
As long as 24 hours have elapsed since it was been used for a non-kosher ingredient, anything cooked in that pot is kosher. Again, a Jew is not allowed to. You're not allowed to
Oh, yeah.
to use it, but b'diavad, once it's been done, it's kosher. And so that's worth knowing for extenuating circumstances, whatever, and there might be, again, it could be that if you're at the hotel, the motel breakfast, it might be that their hard-boiled egg, thing is only used for hard-boiling eggs, and it's not like a pot that these or anything else. It's a special egg boiler device, which is only used for eggs, in which case it's, would be, that might be okay. You could verify that. You could find that out. So the only taste that's a problem is taste that enhances. So, clam chowder in your custard is not going to be a problem. If there's soap mixed in, it's not going to be a problem. If it hasn't been for 24 hours, it's not going to be a problem. We still are not allowed to use non-kosher utensils lichatchila at an ab initio. But after it's been cooked, b'diavad, afterwards, the food itself is kosher. But also say, I think we talked about this, or also emphasize, I think for most of us, for most of the time, we don't even perceive any of this. This is all just sort of like mumbo jumbo. What taste, clam taste, the case in my egg and toast. I don't taste anything. I just taste the thing that's cooked. That's because we live after the invention of stainless steel, which is this amazing substance. The whole point of stainless steel is that it doesn't impart a taste and nothing's absorbed, right? Before stainless steel, unless you were royalty and you were eating on gold or silver, everything you ate tasted like wood or like metal because from your silverware, like the fork you put in your mouth ruined the taste of everything you ate unless you were a king eating on golden spoons. But stainless steel is amazing. It doesn't impart taste and also doesn't seem to absorb taste. And you can cook once you get that pot clean, you can cook anything in it and it won't impart taste. There are poskim who Malamed says, right? Malamed who wrote these books. He thinks that none of these rules probably apply to stainless steel because stainless steel doesn't absorb taste. And we know that scientifically. He's not willing to just throw out all of kashrut, and you don't need two sets of pans, no, it's the kosher, not, he's not willing to go there, but he is willing to say that as like an added reason to be lenient when you're weighing, oh my gosh, I used the knife to cut this, then I put the thing into the wrong, and then I stirred, and so he's willing to add this as another factor for leniency, the fact that, okay, with stainless steel, there's no, like, this is not meant to be mumbled. This was actually meant to be really real perceived taste. And I think we talked about this. If you use a stainless cast iron skillet, it does absorb taste, and which it imparts on the next things that it cook. You're not supposed to like never supposed to use soap, right, with your cast iron skillet, because it's supposed to, every time you use it, it like absorbs more of the flavor of everything that was cooked in it and the butter and okay. If you cut an onion on we had at our house, we have a cutting board that we're only allowed to use for onions and garlic. Okay. Woe to the person who uses the cuts an apple or on the onion cutting board. There are members of my family who will not eat the apple afterwards. And okay, but that's what this system is assuming. Okay, no, okay, yeah.
That's a very tangential question.
Oh.
We were flipping back our Pesach and regular pots. I got them all confused. And because they look, they're all these
Oh,
stainless
yeah.
steel pots. And I ended up with like 2/3 of our pots in the Pesach closet and not enough pots to cook with in the kitchen.
Oh, no.
So then I went down and so they were all mixed up together. So did they trafe up the Pesach things? Or, I mean, is there any?
When you found it mixed up? When? Before or after? Like what stage?
So I was I was trying to, put it all back, the Pesach pots, but I ended up
With more pots than you.
more pots.
So it seems that some of the Pesach pots got left out with your non-Pesach pots. So what are you going to do?
I took back the non-Pesach pots.
How'd you know?
Well, Robert figured it out.
Oh, fine, it's fine. Yeah, it's just being in the presence of, yeah, no, because the same rules apply. If nothing, yeah, we're very kind of crazy about Pesach, but at the end of the day, it still follows the same rules. And if you didn't cook chametz in them, it's fine. Okay, we're extra crazy on Pesach because even a minute amount of chametz on Pesach renders a mixture non-kosher. But that doesn't mean that your pots are not kosher if it's not Pesach and they're in the kitchen, right? In theory, you should be able to. I mean, no one does this. Don't do this. But just saying, in theory, you should be able to cook for Pesach in your regular pots and pans in your regular kitchen before Pesach, and just put it in the fridge or in the freezer and eat it on Pesach, because it's only on Pesach that a minute amount of chametz is not nullified, but before Pesach, chametz is nullified. And so if you're really careful to have no chametz ingredients, you should be able to make your chicken soup a month before Pesach in your regular pot and just stick it in the freezer. Don't try this at home. I don't know what, but I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe one day. I don't know. One day maybe I'll research this more and figure out why we don't do that, or maybe we could do that. But I think if we could, I think people would stop eating at my house if. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Fish and meat. Talmud says we don't eat fish and meat together, and does not say why. Talmud says it's dangerous to eat fish and meat together.
Is this just together on one plate or together in the same meal?
Together in one plate at the same time. So you
So you can't have a bite of chicken and then a bite of fish.
no. So what people do is you serve fish first or after on a separate plate with a separate fork, or you wash the plate or wash the fork, and then you have your meat. Okay. Talmud says this is dangerous. We don't really know why it's dangerous. It seems that, we just, so I couldn't really tell you. One suggestion was that it was perhaps attracting the evil eye if you would deign to have two forms of protein at one meal. That was sort of like, it's so haughty and arrogant and decadent. It's decadent to have two types of protein in the same meal. And to do such a thing, you're inviting the evil eye. The evil eye is anything you do which causes other people to look at you with jealousy, which was understood to be dangerous. So, but I don't know. Maybe this, and I think that the Rambam says, whatever. Like when Thomas is dangerous and we can't identify any danger, does that mean we can just ignore it? Or does that mean, I don't know, like maybe tradition, we don't do it. So I don't know, like I'm just telling you, if you're going to be, if you're in, I can't really, I don't know what to say. I just would say we don't do it. And So if you're serving fish, it should be a separate course, and then clear the plates or in the silverware or wash it in between. It can be an issue at a buffet. That's probably at a buffet it's an issue. But so what you do is here at least we have like a separate set of pile of plates if there's fish and meat at the same meal, so that people can take two plates and eat them separately. Or if you have a little bit of you have some whiskey in between, that's like a nice it's like rinse out your palate in between the fish. Yeah. Okay. Next, kosher utensils and ovens. Okay, we just did this. All right. So we want to get the absorbed taste um, 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 out of the pots, pans, and silverware in order to make them kosher. And the way we do this is by, um, it depends how they were. This is the Torah describes this in the book of Numbers. After we captured lots of things from the Midianites in battle, we had to kasher them. So things that are used with water are kasher in water. Things that are used in fire are kasher in fire. So anything that's used that became unkosher because non-kosher food was cooked in it, boiled through boiling, some sort of liquid medium, which would be pots and pans basically, it can be kasher by immersion in boiling water. Anything that became non-kosher on the fire, meaning like a skewer or a baking tray, which was, exposed directly to food under conditions of dry heat, can only be koshered through basically a blowtorch or being put, in super, super high heats. And so most of the things in our kitchen, pots and pans, can be koshered in boiling water. Silverware can be koshered in boiling water. And baking trays generally just don't kosher because it's too hard. Our ovens, we don't really use them for the way ovens were used in the ancient world. We don't cook directly on the wall of the oven. We put things on trays or in pots and pans. So they're a little more lenient. We generally kosher ovens by putting them, making sure they're clean. There's no food. We put them to the highest temperature for an hour or so, and that koshers the oven. And that is sufficient because we're not actually the oven doesn't come in contact with the food.
Could we not put so if you put a self-cleaning cycle on your oven and you put
Self-cleaning, you can put your
okay, so I was gonna say you put a tray in and it literally
Yes.
gets off all the grime and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
you can put it if it'll survive. You can put a tray in with a self-clean. Self-clean is very, very. It's like incredibly hot and
5 to 7 hours, depending on like your machine.
yeah, it's a little dangerous. I don't know. Just be careful.
Well, yeah, you don't do it all the time. You just do
Okay.
it every now and then.
Okay, great.
Like you use, I use a lot of oil, so like the oil builds up, then you just throw it in the.
Okay.
Sad.
Okay, great.
Smells a little gross for a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't leave the house. You stay there.
I was thinking when I do self-clean, like I check my oven, I self-clean cycle, and I was worried, like I was.
The first time you do it is always the worst.
Yes,
The first time it's used, it smells horrible.
Yeah.
You have to open windows, you have to open doors, it's the worst thing. After like a few times after that, it's not as bad because whenever you first self-clean it, you still have all like
That fire extinguisher.
but the first time is always the worst. And like I mean, I did it.
Okay, amazing.
Well, this is the first oven that I've actually been able to that I've personally had.
It's not necessary to self-clean. You can just, but again, because we're not actually putting food directly in contact with their oven walls, it obviously would work. It works. Blowtorches also work if you have blowtorches. And whatever. There are lots of kosher guides online for like specific things and the multitude of kitchen appliances, and you can see online guides, and the CRC has a great resources online. I'm happy to consult as relevant based on what you have. But the goal is to expunge what was absorbed in to get it out of, then you can then okay. Yes. Earthenware cannot be koshered, correct?
What can it be?
Earthenware.
So stoneware, ceramic.
Yeah, wood also, I believe, cannot be right.
Wood's
Glass, the Ashkenazi position is not to kosher glass. But that's the generally Ashkenazi position, like glass plates or things like that. Pyrex, we generally say can be kosher if it can withstand being put in boiling water. You can kosher Pyrex. That's what it's. I mean, there are multiple opinions. That's I believe the opinion. That's what I was taught. Porcelain can be koshered if it's a financial loss. In case of financial need, you can kosher porcelain if it has to be used in 12 months and if it can withstand being immersed in boiling water. And if it's a financial loss to not kosher it. So that's subjective, but should we move on? Areas of difficulty: sink, microwave, dishwasher. Okay, so sink. So sink is complicated because you have hot dairy and hot meat going down the same sink usually, unless you have two sinks. That's lovely. That should be also work, depending on how connected they are. So what we do is we put just a sink liner. We have a meat and a dairy sink liner, like a rack that goes in the bottom of the sink, and everything in the sink is lifted off the bottom of the sink. So the bottom of the sink is presumed to be not kosher because hot dairy and hot meat directly go in the bottom of the sink. But we never put our dishes directly in the bottom of the sink, so they're not with hot water. We put them on this rack, and so they're touching the rack. The rack is only used with dairy, or it's only used with meat, and so the rack is fine. In theory, if you had piping hot, if you close the bot, close your drain and filled your sink with piping hot water without soap, then your rack is not going to save you, and the dishes will absorb the non-kosher taste from the walls of the sink. But so don't do that. Right? Don't use piping hot water. Always use soap. And when it's resting, instead of don't have it rest on the ground, have it on the rack. So that sinks. Microwaves, super interesting. Microwaves don't create heat, and so it's sort of interesting what the problem is because they don't cook through heat. They create, I guess, the microwaves go directly into the food and agitate water molecules in the food, which the agitation of the molecules creates heat. So there's nothing in the microwave is hot except the food, and then the heat comes from the food outward. So nonetheless, when you heat foods in the microwave, they might splatter on the walls of the microwave. So the walls of the microwave wouldn't be kosher. So maybe things are splattering onto the walls, and then what are they doing? Then they're dripping back onto your food. That seems like a particularly dirty kind of microwave. Maybe stuff is going through the microwave fans and coming out. So I don't know. So the basic position is with a microwave, you can have one food gender uncovered, one food covered, so that the splattering on the walls will only be, so in our microwave, only dairy or par foods are cooked uncovered. Meat is always cooked covered. So any splatter, so there won't be any meat splattering on the walls. To kosher microwave, you just boil some water in it, and the idea is that the steam will just sort of go through the whole ventilation system and clean it out in that way, or kosher it in that way. And obviously the walls should be clean and and nothing. Okay. But if you wrap things well in any microwave, it should be fine because the food isn't touching anything hot. It's just the heat is coming from the food and going outward. So yeah.
It's a caution. Microwave is the one appliance that's kind of hard to have two of. You have one on the counter, one on the counter.
Yeah.
On the counter.
So you're saying mine just have two?
Yeah, I mean, you can buy a microwave at Walmart for $100 that you put on the counter.
Great.
Or
So
less.
yes, the microwave may not be so much, but the counter space could be, it could be, in Shepherd Park, there's like $700 a square foot for your house. So you might not have the kitchen space for the two microwaves. So we have one microwave. We just keep a little, they make those plastic microwave covers. So we just keep it on top of the microwave, and anything meat we use with the cover. Anything par or dairy we use without the cover. I think that's pretty standard. But if you have room for two, that's right. Questions, comments? Okay. Next. Dish was. I don't think an air fryer can be kosher. I could be wrong about that.
What if it's one of the ones that like you put
Yes.
things in? So could you
Yes.
buy like a second?
No, because it
It's still like
circulates. I could be wrong about that. If you find another, I don't believe.
I mean, that makes sense. I'm just curious.
Then that what?
For the future, I want to know.
I don't think to be careful with it. I don't think you can kosher an air fryer. I could be wrong about that, but I just feel like the way it. What? Yeah. And the ones with the two draws, I don't think are good enough because I think the air gets. I don't think they're kept separate enough. Yeah, no, they make some with two draws, but I don't think that works for. Yeah.
So you
I
just-
had a friend who had a big Facebook discussion about whether he should have a dairy or a meat deep fryer, and it was it was like, as you might imagine, this was hundreds of comments of everyone weighing in and with their recommendations.
Tough question.
And in the end, in the end,
Or
in
eat
the
deep fried ice cream. Have you ever had deep fried ice cream?
Oh, it sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
It is amazing though. Okay.
But it's bad for you. It's deep fried.
in the end, he got two. He got two. In fact, I think the participants in the Facebook discussion actually bought him the two. It's like this epic, back when
Oh my God.
Facebook was still fun. It was like good. Okay. Dishwashers always have soap, so that makes it much better. So you have, so in theory, you could have dairy and meat dishes in the dishwasher at the same time, and since it's all being mixed together with soap, it should be fine. The Shulchan Aruch, who didn't know about dishwashers, describes exactly that though, and says you have a big pot of hot soapy water, and you can wash your dairy and your meat dishes at the same time because it's all being because there's soap, and so and the dairy and the meat is not touching. It's all in this big vat of hot soapy water. That being said, certainly the Ashkenazi practice is to use dishwashers either for meat or for dairy, and not for both. Rav Rimon, who's a contemporary posek in Israel, thinks that you can alternate between dairy and meat in your dishwasher as long as you make sure there's no actual meat or dairy food. If you rinse your plates before putting them into the dishwasher, he thinks you can alternate between meat and dairy. Because just based on his understanding of how modern dishwashers work and the way the soap is. And he also says make sure there's always soap. Like don't put a pellet in the little container because then the dishwasher turns on and starts maybe filling with hot water before the soap is released. So if you use a powder and spray a little extra soap in the chamber so that as soon as it turns on, there's soap circulating in the system. Great. Good. Amazing.
I like to use
I'm glad
but then the liquid stuff. I always like to
a little extra.
Yeah.
Good, that works.
like a little dash of the liquid and the pod.
You can flood your apartment that way. It's like regular.
Not regular, no, like the dishwashing, it's a liquid version. Because it helps with like.
Someone flooded the dorms by putting like regular Dawn soap in there.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness. No. It's specific for washing machines.
Oh yeah. There's so much foam everywhere. They turn it into like Coachella Part 2.
That's a party.
Amazing.
But it helps with the shine on like the glass, like on my
Yeah.
cups and stuff. So like the liquid, I feel like does a better job cleaning
It does,
glass
it
cups.
does.
But it's separate, but my mason doesn't the building. Now I had the separate liquid for the shine and no stains because otherwise like it was still having like wet thing. When I was taking out, it was still sending.
Yeah, send it to me.
I started using it like for a month or so and like I see the difference.
Yeah?
Everything shines.
Yes. Like it's
It's called Finish and send you the link.
Oh yeah, no. I love Finish. Yeah, that's what I use. But I still like the powder. Because it's just yeah, they they have their
Yeah.
pellets and it's like a three
A three.
in one kind of thing. I feel like they don't dissolve as well though.
You have to say that for the recordings. We get sponsorships for the.
Finish be better.
I have like 100.
I don't know about that. I think the views are at like what, like 20. We should be good. Unless this goes viral. Do not hashtag.
I'm just saying, it'd be nice to start getting some sponsorships for our classes. Okay, guests and housekeepers and relatives and people who stay in your house don't. So, look, if someone's going to stay in your house, you should teach them how out of your kitchen. And in my experience, babysitters or housekeepers or people who have come, like some of them are more smart, some of them are less smart, some of them are like get it really quickly, and some of them don't. But it's like not beyond like just wash this with this sponge, wash this with that sponge, or if you're making something for our kids, like use this or whatever. If you bring your own food into the house, that's great. Keep it separate. Use paper plates to eat it. Don't use my dish. Like these are very normal things. It may feel weird to say it, but actually it's a normal thing to say. People say it all the time. We say it all the time, and people are respectful and appreciate it and get it. And sometimes they make mistakes, like we all make mistakes. But I think people with like goodwill, and you speak to them in a straightforward way, clearly they will. It's just not that. So I don't know. Any questions about that? I'm happy to like talk through specifics, but like I think you can have non-kosher food in your house if it's for somebody who's not Jewish or whatever, a guest to eat. You don't have to like bar it from the door, but like make sure tell them how to eat it in a way that doesn't impact your plates and things like that. Okay. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier, let's say my mom doesn't have a kosher kitchen.
Yeah.
So if she has a pan that she hasn't used in 24 hours, could I use that pan? Or should I just buy my own personal?
So what did we say? We said that anyone want to answer what based on what we said on this class?
You should not use
Yeah.
a non-kosher utensil, but if she happened to make something for you,
So lechatchila, ad initio, you're not allowed to use non-kosher pots and pans. B'diavad, once the food has been cooked, it is kosher. So I think like if it's your mother, you're gonna hopefully be visiting frequently, get your own pan, and maybe you have a little cupboard that you keep a pot and a pan and a sponge and whatever, and you can make your own food when you're there. Yeah. It's not like it happens. Like this is like a pretty common thing, and like again, some people's and actually it's in this community and other communities where I've worked. It's not. It's also quite a few Jewish people have non-Jewish, have Jewish parents even who don't have kosher kitchens and have to make these kinds of accommodations, and it's incredibly common. And I would say when it works really nicely, people a whole little cabinet with all the kosher things for when the child comes to visit or the grandkids or whatever, it's all set up and if it's sometimes it's a little bit less, not quite as accommodating. You have to, you eating tuna fish or something, or, but I think it's important to maintain these relationships and show your love and all that, and while also being true to yourself and your values and your lifestyle. So yeah. Questions, comments? Okay. Onward. Waiting between dairy and meat. Okay, so we don't cook dairy and meat together. We don't eat them together. We don't sell them. We don't buy benefit from them when they've been cooked together. We also don't eat them at the same. Not only not eat them at the same time, we also wait between meat and dairy. The Talmud says that you should wait from meal. No,
I thought that
no,
was from me.
no. We're talking meat. Talmud says from meat to dairy, we wait from meal to meal. And there are two opinions about what it means to wait from meal to meal. And those two opinions are, let's just, even without knowing anything, what would we think those two opinions are? What it means to wait from meal to meal?
I mean, roughly 6 hours, like lunch.
So
before
one
food.
possibility is 6 hours from meal to meal. You should wait 6 hours from the first meal to the second meal, right? Like,
Breakfast
okay.
would be pretty early, and you put lunch at like.
So 6 hours is
Eight.
6 hours is an interpretation of the Talmud says meal to meal, and the Rambam and the Sephardic halachic tradition says that means 6 hours, or maybe into the 6 hours. But let's say, okay, that's an interpretation of meal to meal. What's the other interpretation of meal to meal?
Meal is concluded.
Yes. How does
Isn't
the
that like snack?
meal ends? You say Birkat Hamazon, and then you can have dairy. The meal is over. You can't have meat and dairy at the same meal. The meal, that is the Ashkenazi halachic tradition. That's the Tosfot. That's the Ashkenazi halachic tradition. So fundamentally, the two positions are 6 hours or Birkat Hamazon. Okay? The meal is over, right? There's a 3 hour position, which is sort of a compromise between the two, which is common, became prevalent among German Jews and some others, and I think that's very common in this community. But I would say the vast majority, I don't know, vast majority, I think 6 hours has become really pretty predominant. Because why be cautious or something like this? But essentially, really could be, Birkat Hamazon, and obviously you make sure your mouth is clean, and then you can go and have dairy. Maybe the 6 hours, presuming it takes longer for food to digest, or it might be in your teeth, or that, whatever. I don't know, but like I think it's really all an interpretation of what it means to wait from meal to meal, whether it's the time that's typical between a meal, the time between a typical meal, between typical meals versus no, the meal's over. Don't have it at the same meal. Once the meal's over, you're good to go. From dairy to meat, the other direction, everyone agrees you don't have to wait at all. Everyone agrees you don't have to wait at all, so long as your mouth is cleaned out, have a cracker, rinse, have a glass of water, you're good to go, unless you ate hard cheese. Hard cheese is defined as cheese that is so old that it has like kind of worms, kind of crawling through it, which is considered a delicacy. But actually, the definition is 6 months, 6 months aged cheese. Now, when I studied this in yeshiva for the first time, more years ago than I care to recall, there it was like very hard to find kosher cheese that was aged more than 6 months. But there's been a renaissance of kosher cheese. And now you can find many varieties of kosher cheese that are aged 6 months, and they will usually tell you on the label, like the cheese guys, those like really nice kosher cheeses. So it'll say age 6 months, age 12 months, age 2 years. So it's more than 6 months, then you have to wait from dairy to meat, as long as you would wait from meat to dairy.
What if it's not aged 6 months, but it's like they sell those little hard cheese crisps as like keto type products, like little chips. They're like super hard, literally, but they're not aged 6 months.
Like Parmesan crisps and
Yes,
stuff.
like Parmesan crisps.
Sounds generally aged.
If
a
they-
lot.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point then.
But if it's like cheddar crisps though, I think that could be fine, right?
I mean, they're hard because they're like dried or no. I think the hardness, it's not about the
Like what you mentioned, Parmesan crisps. Yeah.
crisps. Those are like, it's like a snack food.
Yes.
No, it's not like crunchy hard. The hardness, it's about the intensity of the cheese flavor through the aging process that makes it like the crisps, if anything, passes through without an impact really quickly. It's the aged Parmesan, that's 2 years aged. It's like that's gonna sit in your gut for a couple of weeks, like that's you have to wait for, not the snack food. The processed snack food is not a problem. Yeah, good question. Okay, all good? Okay, maybe we'll pause here because the next one is a little bit longer. Okay, everyone remember for next time, we're pausing at letter K. Thank you. 1 second, let me turn this on. The next class was added to the schedule. It should be on the website today. No? Oh, I gave them some times. I think we're meeting. Really? So they didn't add it to the. They did. We're meeting. This is the 13th. We're meeting. It's on the website. We're meeting the 20th and we're meeting May 4th. So we're meeting April 20th and we're meeting May 4th. Are the next two. Yes.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. So next Monday and then May 4th we're meeting, and then we'll see some others as well.
Didn't expect that, did you?
I didn't.
All right. Thank you.
At least they feel me on Monday, right?
Uh,
This